Let's talk about Chip Kelly. We talked about Deshaun Foster headed to UCLA. Well, stays at UCLA, but that's because the vacancy that opened up when Chip Kelly moved to Ohio State. And this started because Bill O'Brien went to Boston College. And that started because Jeff Hafley took a job for the Packers in the NFL. So, kind of a lot of what we're talking about today is a big old chain reaction from Jeff Hafley at Boston freaking College. At Boston freaking College. Gosh, what a crazy chain. What a crazy chain. So, I I don't know. There were some jokes online talking about like, oh, if you wanted to watch the offensive coordinator um with a better track record overall, you could have just hired Jimbo, but that's stupid. Everyone knows with a decent brain that Chip Kelly is an absolute innovator on the offense side of the football. It's not like he's running the same exact stuff that he was running in 2010 with Oregon, right? He's a baller, and he's never been quarterback dependent ever. Well, this past year there was some exceptionally bad quarterback play. But I think this will work out really well. And look, he's not a great recruiter. He's not a great recruiter. But is Brian
Well,
Hartline still
he's not
there?
a willing recruiter. He's not a willing
He's
recruiter.
not a willing recruiter. Brian Hartline still there?
Yeah. Ryan Day still recruits. And let me tell you, Ryan Day recruits damn well on the
Great.
offensive side.
Great. If Ryan Day doesn't feel comfortable letting Brian Hartline call the plays, then let Chip Kelly call the plays and let Brian Hartline talk to every top receiver recruit in the country. You know, like that's fine. That's totally fine.
To properly grade this hire, you have to be able to separate like Chip Kelly, who you think of him as the UCLA head coach, and who you think of him as an offense coordinator, right? In this day in college football, where like, yes, recruiting is important, obviously, but he's going to a program that doesn't need another ace recruiter. It needs another ace, in the X's and O's. And Chip Kelly is that guy. I I love this. I mean, it's the rich get richer. It is crazy that they fell ass backwards in him, right? They made a hire, Bill O'Brien, right? Obviously, you
Which
mentioned that,
not
that
a
chain
ton of
reaction earlier.
people, not a lot of people loved that. I mean, I thought it was
No,
okay, but I did feel like, like how's the relationship right there with Brian Hartline gonna respond to that? But like, gosh, if it works out with Chip Kelly, it's gonna be awesome.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. And to go from UCLA, another rival, new rival in your conference, and to pluck their head coach. I know, I'm sure they were willing to let him out and you take his buyout and whatnot. But yeah, to me, this is awesome. I can't believe this for Ohio State. I love it for him. For Ryan Day, makes a ton of sense. They knew each other back in New Hampshire when Ryan Day was a player. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator. And he also, another connection to the Ohio State staff is Justin Fry, the O line coach who coached with Chip Kelly at UCLA. So obviously the terminology there with the O line and the offense is going to be pretty similar. And with Ryan Day runs it and how Chip Kelly runs it and how Justin Fry does his blockings and all that stuff. And to me, Chip Kelly, the play caller and the offensive talent, like immediately elevates their running grade, rushing grade, whichever you want to bring it. Like you brought in two running backs this year, or you retained one running back, you brought another one, right? Chivon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, and you bring in a quarterback that's 6'5", 240, and he's got wheels, right? And so you're looking to be a ground and pound team. Yes, you have wide receivers. Yes, you have some studs on the outside, but you're going to run the ball really well with Chip Kelly. Everywhere he's been, he's run the ball exceptionally well. There will be no surprise here. And obviously, to me, I think the only question mark I have about Ohio State is their O line, right? And that was the same thing this past year, right? Their O
But
line was a big question mark.
you get everyone back though, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
so there's something to be said about continuity there and an
Yes.
extra year in a college weight room.
Well, yeah, and most of those guys are pretty talented, so it's not like they're untalented players just not getting better at bumping their head against the ceiling. Those guys are pretty talented. So, like, I'm sure they'll get a little bit better. Don't know exactly, but I think his running schemes and all that other stuff, it elevates them in terms of it doesn't have to have an elite line to really run the ball well. And to me, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I don't know a single Ohio State coach that's like or a player, a fan, whatever, that's upset about this because he's an elite mind, right? And he's not, gunning for anyone's job. I don't think he's going anywhere soon, unless the NFL comes knocking. But we'll see. Yeah, do you think like a lot has been made about college coaches leaving, burnout, new rules, all that stuff, and they want some change. Chip Kelly, obviously, he's not going to the NFL, but he's taking a demotion, right, from a head coach to offensive coordinator because he doesn't want to deal with all the off the field stuff. He just wants to coach football, right? And I can respect that, right? Like I when he signed up to be a coach like 30 some years ago, right? He wasn't, doing it for the NIL and for boosters and fundraisers. He did it because he loves football. He loves developing, young men, right? So how do you feel about this in terms of like the future of college football? Does this worry you? All that. Chip Kelly's been vocal this offseason. If you remember that press conference,
Yeah.
after the bowl game, right? You should not be surprised when he was in his name and he was trying to get out as head coach.
Yeah. I don't think a move like this is bad for college football necessarily. I think it was a unique situation where, I mean, Chip Kelly was just not getting it done, and I think those boosters just didn't feel like there was a great future with Chip Kelly. Like the way that he recruits, just it was not going to get it done in the Big Ten, and they didn't want to pay his buyout. But thankfully, Chip Kelly wanted to get out of that, like being a head coach. But it does fall under the same umbrella as like all these head coaches, or some of these head coaches moving to go get NFL jobs, right? It kind of falls under that category a little bit because you're not going to be asked to be like the primary recruiter for any, maybe a couple recruits, uh, as many as he can handle. So yeah, there's some people that are not very worried about this kind of thing happen. Remember Aaron Torres with Fox News or Fox Sports talking about he was not worried at all. He would be worried if a guy like Kirby Smart went to the NFL, but also like just because your top coaches in the sport aren't leaving their head coaching jobs for an NFL job, although Jim Harbaugh did. Just because like the top guy doesn't leave. You know what I'm saying? Like the health of the
Well,
sport is greater than just your top 30 teams, right?
exactly. And yeah, because also a lot of those scenarios have been super unique. You mentioned Chip Kelly being unique. Jeff Hafley was another unique one where he was also kind of
He
out the
was
door,
yeah.
one foot out the door, and he's been wanting to go back to the NFL for a while. Saw this as his best chance. Chip Kelly again was tired of doing that stuff. I get that, but also he was also one foot out the door at UCLA, and to me, it's like yes, like you might lose. I think you're going to lose more coaches to burnout and to retirement to TV than you are to the NFL because what makes Kirby Smart so good, yes, very good defensive mind, elite defensive mind, but he is an ace recruiter. He is a elite plus recruiter, and that's what makes him so good in the NCAA. And so going to the NFL, recruiting is not as big of a deal, and so he's not as valuable. Just to go off that example there. So I don't think in terms of I don't think losing them will be the problem to the NFL. I just think doesn't mean there's not a problem. I think there can be things that are done, and it's not just guys complaining because they're working too much. It's guys complaining that are working 80 hours a week and doing stuff that is kind of unnecessary and that should not be. It should be regulated, but it's not.
Oh wait, actually, we didn't give our grades for this, did we?
I'll give this an. I'll give this an A. I think this is one step above,
Yeah.
Wink Martindale because to me, a lot of the like you know exactly who you're getting from Chip Kelly, right? Like, and he's filling a role exactly kind of built for him, right? We talked about the whole video. It's like don't have to recruit, right? Not a ton of expectation for you to do that. He'll still have to work hard. He'll still do a lot of stuff, but he just gets to coach ball and develop an elite scheme with elite players, working with one of his best friends in Ryan Day. Yeah, this is awesome all around.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll give it an A. I mean, just purely based on if it fits the way it should or it can, and that relationship works there with Brian Hartline, this is absolutely dynamite. Could be dynamite.